When Adam boarded the plane for Dubai, he didn't think much would change back home. His wife, Emma, had always been the kind of person who preferred routine. She liked her morning tea in the garden, read novels in the afternoon, and spent weekends baking cookies for the neighbors' kids. Their life in the small town was quiet, predictable, and peaceful, exactly how Adam liked it. The 3-month work trip felt long, but they kept in touch daily. Emma never mentioned anything out of the ordinary. Their calls were sweet, but short. Emma would always say she was tired or busy, but she smiled and told him not to worry. "Everything's fine here, just the same as always," she'd say. But everything was not the same. The day Adam returned, he immediately noticed little changes. The front yard was filled with fresh flowers and a small fountain now stood in the center. The house smelled like coffee and cinnamon, and a strange dog barked from the backyard. Emma had adopted a German shepherd, something she used to say she'd never do. Inside, things felt different too. There were new paintings on the walls, bold, colorful, nothing like the soft landscapes she used to like. There were stacks of books on entrepreneurship, psychology, and even one on motorcycle repair. A new energy filled the air, like the house was holding its breath, waiting for him to ask what happened. That evening, they sat on the porch, sipping tea like they always did. Adam finally asked, what's going on?" "This place, everything's changed." She smiled softly, almost shyly. Then, like pulling open a curtain, she began to share the story. 2 weeks after he left, Emma had a breakdown. Not the kind with tears or panic, but a quiet, deep feeling of being invisible. She looked around the house and saw a life she had built more for him than for herself. She realized she didn't even know who she was outside of being Adam's wife. One morning, she walked past the old bakery on Elm Street, a place she had loved as a child. It had been abandoned for years. Without thinking twice, she called the owner, made an offer, and used some of their savings to buy it. She spent days scrubbing, painting, testing recipes, and researching business permits. Within weeks, the place had come alive, filled with laughter, the smell of fresh bread, and customers who couldn't stop talking about Emma's magic touch. But it didn't stop there. One of her regulars was a woman who rode a motorcycle and invited Emma to a local ride. Out of curiosity or maybe rebellion, Emma said yes. She ended up loving it. The wind, the speed, the freedom. She took classes, got her license, and bought a second-hand bike. Every Sunday, she rode through the hills with people who knew nothing about her past, just the person she was becoming. She even started giving talks at the local community center, helping women find their passion, telling her story about rediscovering herself. The local paper ran an article on her titled, "The Woman Who Found Herself." Adam stared at the newspaper clipping in silence as she handed it to him. He didn't know what to say. The woman sitting in front of him was still his wife, but somehow more alive than he'd ever seen her. Stronger, braver, radiating with a kind of quiet power. Emma reached over and took his hand. "I love you," she said. "But I also finally love me. I didn't know I needed to change until I was alone. And now, I'm never going back to who I was." Adam looked at her, this new version of the woman he thought he knew, and realized that maybe she hadn't changed at all. Maybe she had simply uncovered the parts of herself she had hidden for too long. He smiled. "Tell me everything," he said. And she did.